What's up, folks? Casual Dad here with another Warhammer Combat Cards Warlord guide. And this time we're going to talk about our second super heavy Warlord. We're going to talk about Zarek, the Silent King, who obviously is silent because he can't say his name. Right now you're looking at his maximum level, so that is at your level 13. He is legendary, so he does have the double traits of both Inspiring Presence and regeneration, and he comes in with 445 wounds, which is phenomenal, and also really high attack stats before you get to that Inspiring Presence. So he hits like an absolute truck and takes a lot to bring down. So this is a Warlord both who takes a long time to remove and who can win games decisively by himself. He does weigh in at 110 deck points, though, which I believe is the highest, and we'll double check that in a second, of any Warlord in the game. And I'm a little bit behind on this. He's been announced for a while. We knew he was coming, but I had a lovely vacation last week, so I did miss this, but hopefully this is in time. The biggest thing about Zarek, though, is his double ability here, because in a lot of games, you're not even going to see him hit the board, even at that high deck point or level of 110. So his ability is, number one, at the end of your turn, gain a bonus equal to 100% of the combined ready total of friendly Necron cards. So that is just as if you ready in addition to whatever you do that turn. So you can ready and then have all your cards ready again, which is crazy amounts of bonus that come up. Or you can attack, or you can do whatever combination of attacks you want and then still ready anyway. So he's like a... I'm really rough with the names. We'll get back to this. There's a lot of Warlords that have similar abilities, but this one just sort of happens on top of everything else. In addition to that, he's got an even better version of Nemesis Zandrak's ability, where the first time he would be attacked, that's splash damage or direct damage, he summons a triarchal Menhir. That's a word I've never figured out how to say. I've only ever seen it written. But anyway, what it is an obelisk worth 100 deck points, quote unquote, that has really high hit points. I have a level 1 snapshot here. It has 330 hit points. Let's see if that, I don't know if that shows up at all. There we go. 330 hit points and a 30 ranged attack, and then has debuff Psychic in both the melee and Psychic channels. And it comes in with Taunt. It is also legendary, so it has Taunt and Regeneration. That thing takes a lot of damage to take down if you haven't ever fought against it in one of the campaigns. And then also it does have a very meaningful ranged attack itself. Has that regen. So it's very good. And if you don't kill it right away, it then will be Taunt for 2 rounds, and then also will then sit on the board and punch your stuff, assuming the board isn't full. So very, very powerful. Probably worth the deck points. I do think Zarek is stronger than Guilliman. Maybe. So he's still in the store right now for another 3 days. Yeah, as of this recording, it'll be 3 days tomorrow. Base cost is going to be $25, and I will say that the cases where he's going to be the most useful are going to be those cases where he is at max level or close. So we're talking about campaigns and or PvP events, not the 400-point deck mode that has come up that I'll be talking about shortly here. But so let's take a look at the deck building with this guy. So he's coming in at 110. Let's take a super quick look here just to double check myself. Yes. Okay, so he's 10 points more than Guilliman, so he does come in as now the most expensive Warlord in the game. And we talked about his ability, so I'm going to go ahead and build a deck. It's not going to be quite right. So I'm going to build a deck with the Stormlord, just so we can kind of play with the cards and see how the points work out. And just know that I have to... Oh, gosh, 66 is hard math. 66, 110, so 36, 46 points need to be unspent. Is that right? 44 points? 44. Yeah, 44. So I need 44 deck points still left unspent. So obviously right now this deck doesn't work. So I could do this and this. And then I've got 2 points left to spend. So that's not much of a deck. So we'll go ahead and remove this. But one of the great things about Zarek is he just makes all of your cards better. So what you want to do is go ahead and go with your cards that are kind of the most efficient, right? So big one that comes to mind is going to be these guys right here, which is kind of fun. I like that about him because he's a Necron Warlord that really encourages you to play Necrons. Let's go ahead and tweak this a little bit. And not just play Necrons, but play like, you know, kind of your stock Necrons here. So I still have close to 60 points that I can roll around with, so I can actually bump this up a bit. I'm going to go throw him in here. Yeah, Seamet is one of the best cards in the game. Okay, so now we have 2 points left to spend. on this deck. So I could tweak this a bit, but I was... Ooh, let me make one adjustment here before I talk too much. Ooh, that's not great. Okay, so then we're at 2 high. Drop this guy, and then we have 5 points. Ah, so close. Okay. And that's not going to do it. So let's tweak it and just see what else will fit. What do I have at 48? Ooh, that's not bad. Yeah, okay. So something like this. One final tweak. And there's a method to the madness, I swear. So we're not going to get it perfect, but it's good enough. One thing I wanted to make sure to highlight here. Ooh, this guy would be better. One thing I really wanted to make sure to highlight here is, again, his key ability is every single turn, all of your cards ready. At the end of the turn, but at every single turn, your cards ready. So in the following turn, they will have a bonus. And he's not appearing here. So they will have that extra bonus from readying. Now, there are 3 different kind of ways you can go at that. Number 1, you can ignore that ability and just play whatever deck you want. And then it will just be good no matter what. There's nothing wrong with playing that way. Number 2 is to run a debuff deck, where, say, you're running all melee and you're especially concerned about psychic. You could sprinkle in all of your cards that have a psychic ready debuff, which is none of them, so don't do that. But say you're running a heavy melee deck, and you want to make sure that no ranged decks are really messing you up here. You can run all ranged debuff on all of your melee cards so that your opponent is always shooting at a disadvantage every single turn, which is punishing. But the downside to that is it's completely dependent on what your opponent's deck is. So you could run up against a melee-centric deck, and then it does nothing. So that's something to watch out for. The third, and I personally think the best way to play this, is to run your entire deck with the same bonus, so that every single turn you have a triple ready bonus to that attack stat, whether that's ranged, like you see here, almost exclusively, or whether that's melee. And that just means that every single round your cards are going to be punching so high above their weight, especially if you ready, then you get the post-ready, you've got that 6 times ready for your following turn to really deliver that haymaker punch. Now, it is still challenging to play with the Silent King having a deck this size. Excuse me. So you probably want something smaller than this. And honestly, he's going to be fairly challenging in the competitive ladder at that 200 deck points, because you only have 80 points to spend. Is that, am I doing the math right on that? Yeah, 110, 200 minus 110, 90 points to spend. That's better. Okay. So you have 90 points to spend. So that's kind of another way to think about it, better than what we've done here. So if we're running kind of an ultra thin deck, going to go with some really durable stuff. And we're looking to spend 90 points. We're looking at about 33 points per card. Let's throw cement in there. And Ronkier in there. And then we've got 22 left, which is not great. We'll throw you in here. We're going to take you out. Cement's actually not a great example either, because his base stats are not great. That's not true. His melee is actually very good, so this is going to be melee-centric. And this will actually do something a little bit closer to what I was talking about, where it is going to do a little bit of everything, but is going to debuff your opponents as well as buff yourself. You can throw him in there. And then we have 4 points left to spend, which is going to be something not great. It's going to be these. Now, this is not the best deck, especially if your Stormlord himself, or excuse me, your Silent King is somewhat lower level. He's not really hitting all that much, but it is something you can do that's very melee-centric, very durable, but then also is extremely debuff heavy. So if you have all these guys on the board, you've got a double debuff to melee, buff to melee, or a debuff to range that could pop up. And then, of course, with the Silent King himself, it'll be different. Let's actually check his ready real quick, because I did not pay attention to that. Go away. So he's got a ranged ready buff. So he's custom made to do what I'm talking about right away. So if you have him, it really does sort of make sense to do a range focused deck that does also include a lot of other cards that have very good ranged attacks and also have a ranged ready. So if he is on the board, everything synergizes nicely. And of course, you don't have to play him that way, but on paper, my instinct is that that is the most effective way to play him. And he just becomes a bit of a steamroller. And just to kind of play with it, let's see what you can do at that 400 deck points, that Apocalypse mode. And I'll talk about this one in a second in his follow-up video. I'm pretty excited about that. Really, really happy with how that's come out. All right, so we got our buddy the Stormlord again, and we're looking at 110 deck points, right? So you've got 290 to spend. 90 makes it through. Yeah, so you've got 290 that you can actually spend. So you need a total of 110 left unspent, which will not count him. Anyway, so we got to do the math on this where it's 44 left unspent. Let's see what we can do. So we're going to go heavy ranged, and I'm going to prioritize cards that do a ranged buff as well, which is going to limit my options a little bit, but not too bad. And I'm just going to go straight on the buffs. I'm not even reading which cards I'm grabbing, and I'll take a look at that in a second. Okay, and that's too much. No, it is the wrong buff. And then it gets a little tougher there, and let's see here. Ooh, no. So that gives us 2 points to play with. What do we have at 26? Don't really have much of anything at 26, but this will work. So this would be a very effective deck, except that one key card for me, this guy, is real low level. If I had him closer to here, then it would be a much more reasonable deck. And this is actually a very, very scary deck. Every single card in here has ranged ready, and one of the other advantages on that is all of these also have decent ranged attack stats. So even if you lose one, the following card that you redeploy after that will be a card that will benefit from that ready. And that's the downside to mixing and matching a little bit, is that if you get a heavy melee ready and then you have to drop one of your ranged cards, that ranged card isn't really benefiting from the trait the way ranged on ranged would be. So this is definitely the way that I personally would build it and go with it. And yeah, he's definitely going to perform more stronger at that 400 point deck point mode. But yeah, really curious to see what other players do with this guy. It's probably going to be a long time before we see him show up, just because he's legendary and it's very difficult to get multiple copies of him, let alone a single copy of him. So at this point right now, he is in the store. You could buy him and get him up, and you could get him up to 16 copies if you bought all three of these packs for $200. I don't recommend doing that, but you can if you really want to. And that'll also give you a lot of Necron cards and resources to level them up and really kind of build things well. But yeah, it's a big investment. But yeah, I am curious to see how he comes out. I've played against Gulamon once in the ladder, and it was a pretty big shocker. I expect to see him more in the 400 deck point mode, but you're still probably not going to see him very often just because very few players have copies. Even though the opportunity is there, a lot of players, including myself, haven't gotten him, and even if they have, you're not going to run him very much because he's level 3. And to spend 110 deck points on a Warlord who's only level 3 is a little iffy. His ability's good, but it's not that good. But yeah, interested to see him. Again, I do think that once he is leveled up, he is considerably stronger than Gulamon. They have very similar abilities that just kind of improve the abilities of all their deck, but I think Zarek is a little bit better, especially since he can be not exactly gamed, but you can focus his ability on a specific attack type, or attack types if you want to mix and match with a couple, but again, I personally recommend just the one, so that he becomes a hyper specialized, just utter punching piece, and the deck performs very well. So hopefully that was helpful. Good luck out there, and of course let me know if you have any other builds or any quibbles about the video.